Welcome back, fellow spy nerds. We got another TV series to talk about here. This time it's going to be the 2019 French-made but English language Netflix show about Israeli spy Eli Cohen in the years leading to the 1967 Six-Day War. So this is another one of our semi biopics. You know, obviously they just say it inspired by true events.
Right.
It's not exactly a biopic or meant to be entirely factual. Sacha Baron Cohen, of course, produced it and starred in it in his first dramatic role, which I had heard good things about. I think he just surprised people by being good in a dramatic role.
Right.
Sacha being, of course, mostly known for Borat and similarly zany characters. Do you know what are two that I know of repeat appearances on the podcast are for us? What are they?
I do. The first one, you see right away, Stan Beeman from The Americans.
Yay.
And the second one, which was a pleasant surprise, was Dr. Baltar from Deep Space Nine.
Bashir.
Dr. Bashir, not Baltar.
But good.
Dr. Bashir, sorry.
But good. Yeah. I'm not sure I would have recognized Bashir. He has got an entirely different energy going on in this show.
Yeah, absolutely.
And those actors being, of course, Noah Emmerich and Alexander Siddig, respectively. I don't know a lot of the people's names in this TV show, so I'm probably going to use actors for a lot of the references. Or we could just go ahead and agree to call Noah Emmerich Stan Beeman. That'd be fun for me.
Okay, sounds good.
Okay, and we'll call him the other guy, Dr. Bashir.
Sounds good.
Okay. What do you want to tell us about this show? We're going to talk about... We're going to talk about... Right. Slight departure from our TV format, or maybe this is how we'll do it for miniseries. There's only 6 episodes in the series. So instead of first, middle, and end... we're just going to take each pair of 2 episodes. Today we'll talk about episodes 1 and 2.
I'm pretty excited for it. I mean, we did this with the Night Manager, so I think if there's little enough, we can cover most of it. So I kind of like this because we get to like dissect a little bit more than just kind of doing like a broad stroke.
I'm down. So what do you want to talk about this show? Do we need to set it up a little more about broadly what happens in episode 1 and 2? I mean, it's pretty simple. First episode is the recruitment process, and the second episode is him making contacts in Buenos Aires. So I guess we'll talk episode 1 first.
Yeah. It seems like he was a soldier for Israel at some point, and he always wanted to be in Mossad, and I guess applied a few times, but they turned him down. I guess they really, really, really needed somebody in Syria. And I guess he's of Arab descent, even though he's Jewish. So since they had his file on record, they decided to recruit him and I guess fast pass him through getting into Damascus. His cover, I think, is kind of interesting. He's kind of like an international buyer. And I guess that's his ticket into Syria.
Textiles,
that's right. That's what he did. That's kind of it. The first couple episodes, we get some a little bit of training montage, and then they kind of just rush him into his cover story, and then try and put him in place with the ambassador of... I mean, he's not in Syria, right?
Right. They're gonna... What they're thinking is, it's stated that Buenos Aires is the number 1 spot in the world for Syrian expat or Arab. Actually, he says Arab expats. Mm-hmm. So there's just a lot of Arabs there in a Arab country, and they feel like that's a good place for him to practice. Although, when he gets there, it's pretty clearly stated that they suspect spies everywhere,
Oh, absolutely.
or
Which I
at the very least, they're on high alert due to a recent event. Um, can we talk about his selection and cover? His selection for I think they kind of go together, but just why it's stated in the show he'd be a good candidate.
uh-huh.
Like why him? I mean, one, cool, Arab, awesome. He's an Arab Jew,
Right.
so and lives in Israel, so that's a plus. Um, the fact, well, he's not actually an orphan, but that's going to be part of his cover.
Right.
Is both his sister and both of his parents have perished, and he's all alone in the world. He's got the backstory of his father having his parents having been born in Syria, and his father had just always talked about Syria and how great it was, and followed the politics and everything, and always wanted to go back someday but wasn't able to. And and now Ellie, which is the name of our spy, whose cover name is Kamel, wants to he wants to visit his father's homeland,
Right.
and he's made a lot of money, and he sees what's happening in the politics and stuff, and he wants to make a difference. That part is all cool.
Yeah, he sounds like kind of the perfect candidate to get out there. Uh, I I personally thought a lot of this was super rushed, but they kind of told us that at the beginning. Um,
Yeah,
uh,
6 months, six
yeah,
months of training. That is not a lot.
no, and to set up like he just kind of comes in out of the blue. Um, but as far as setting up his cover, he was right. So part of his cover is that he doesn't have a wife. He's kind of like a well-connected bachelor. But I guess his handler in Buenos Aires caught him writing a letter to his wife, and he had like a whole stack. And I that was something I really liked. Um, you know, he's pretty new to this, so he's not going to be thinking about it. But the handler just going nuts on him, like there is no Eli, there is no Nadia. Nadia is his wife, by the way, and she's like, get rid of this. You don't have a wife. You're not Eli. You are Callum. And then he kind of slips. Oh well, I won't write anymore. She was like, anymore? How many more do you have? And she finds a whole stack and just burns them. And is like, you don't understand. Like this, like there's no mistake. Like mistaking your identity is like a death sentence. So I thought that was kind of a cool setup for that.
I like that as well. I did.
Do you want to talk a little bit about his when I don't know, before we go off into him kind of seducing the ambassador, when they were training him before sending him out, there was like a little montage of his training. One of the things that they trained him on was counter surveillance, and I liked that because he basically had to test every day to spot who was following him along the same path. And they told him, zigzag, use reflections. And of course, being the newbie rookie, the first place he goes to was a sunglasses hut to look at the mirror, which we always make fun of. But I thought it was cool for this because he's kind of a newbie. And each time he goes through the test, he starts using new, interesting, creative ways of spotting people who might be watching him.
Right. Yeah, funny. It now I'm wondering if you run it slightly different depending on whether or not you believe you've been made. Like, do you act if you think that if you I don't know. Maybe that's not there's nothing there. But like and Beeman tells him not to linger too long at the sunglass mirror. He was only there for like 2 seconds.
Yeah.
If you just stop and glance,
Uh,
real quick and then move on. It doesn't look like you were actually even thinking about buying sunglasses. It looks to me like you just wanted to check a mirror real quick.
right. Yeah.
So I don't know. Are you checking to see if you're being followed, or are you trying to make sure that like you're being followed and you need to act super supernatural so that they don't suspect that you're anything that they actually should be following? Just
Right.
thought that was weird. And also, I'm when he finally does spot the tails,
Uh-huh.
Beeman still tells him he was wrong.
Yeah, I thought that was interesting. I don't know that we actually get a reason for that, but I would guess so that he's always assuming he's being watched. Um, but yeah, that was weird. I would have liked to kind of see the fruit of that training come about, to see what it was that he was doing, other than him telling his tales. You guys are getting sloppy. This newbie spotted you.
Yeah. Yeah. And I don't know, if you're trying to teach the guy how to do the thing correctly, I think you really do have to tell him when he did it correctly, because otherwise he's going to change his shit up. But also I started thinking, well, I mean, there was that first part where the very first test is they give him the wrong address. They give him the address that's across the street from where he's really supposed to be.
Hmm.
And he figures that out. And then this lying to him about him spotting the agents, it kind of made me think of this idea of maybe just during training, just periodically tell him white lies and see if he catches them. And
Oh, yeah, yeah.
in terms of like you need to be able to, and me, Stan Beeman, I'm supposedly like a super pro at this, so I'm a really good liar.
Uh
But every once in a while, just tell him that the lunch is gonna be tuna instead of chicken or something. And
huh. See if he
um
notices.
so I thought a really cool development of this would have been for me is like you tell him he was wrong, and then he comes back at you, maybe not immediately, but like shortly thereafter, and says, you know what, I was right. Why are you lying? Why are you saying I was wrong? This is, and then Beeman like breaking down and saying, hey, that was just the next part of the test. I wanted to tell if you could tell that someone was lying to your face.
Right.
That would have been dope.
Yeah.
um 24 hours after 6 months. So then Beeman's bought Beeman's worried that he's not ready.
Hmm.
Beeman wants more time. This kind of guy always wants more time, right?
Yeah.
Although Ellie is showing like what looks like to me, or the show is supposed to be selling me the idea that he's very, very dedicated and very apt and like a very quick study on this stuff. But Beeman has just lost, he's of course has to have like lost an agent that still like really bums him out and that keeps him up at night. Um, but kind of gets strong armed by his boss into pushing him out after 6 months, and then gives him 24 hours to think about it. Like 24 hours, you could still come back and say, I don't want to do this.
Hmm.
I think that's an interesting one. I don't think you can afford to invest 6 months of work into this kind of thing and then have the guy say no. But I also think that the chance that the guy is going to say no is virtually zero.
Right. He's
Um,
pretty gung ho about it. Um, Beeman does later point out that he's too committed to it, like he's got something to prove that
sure.
makes him really uncomfortable. Um, like, are you suggesting that maybe Beeman's testing him by giving him the 24 hours?
I think ultimately what I'm going to walk away with is that I'm going to tell him he's got 24 hours to think about it, even though I know he's going to say yes.
Hmm.
But it's psychologically important that he knew that he had an off ramp, even though
Uh,
I know he's not going to take it.
right.
Later down the road, he's not going to be able to say to himself like, "Hey, I didn't sign up for this.
Right.
You guys, you guys didn't, you guys didn't tell me it was going to be dangerous. What the
Yeah.
fuck?"
Right.
Um, so that's the best I have on that, and I think yeah, pretty much all my notes on uh, episode 1. We talked about why Buenos Aires is going to be the place he's going to go, and just like our little pixie chick in Libero, they're not sending him right off the bat with like necessarily a direct target, but just to make friends with influential people,
Hmm.
and then we'll go from there. Establish your cover,
Right.
make friends with influential people, um, and I guess even though it comes, I think it comes up in episode 2, but just to wrap up this cover story thing, he's claiming that his father built one of the most prominent textile companies in South America. That seems like something that would be dastardly easy to check.
Right. The, I can't quite put my finger on it, but it seems to me like there's a lot of little moments like that that could have gotten him in trouble. If someone just checked on him, like he brings up, oh, my father is from here and he's a known blah blah blah. Well, if if all this stuff is part of your cover story, it would seem pretty easy to check. Like you pointed out, if he's got one of the most prominent textile companies in South America, and I'm doing my due diligence, as far as intelligence goes, I would kind of already know what business that is, right?
Yeah, yeah, and he's um, I mean, the main guy that he's got primarily buttered up is I guess the number one, I think probably Arab focused newspaper in Buenos Aires, the editor of that newspaper, and he's really, I mean, primarily accomplished that by being the guy's number one um, advertisement buyer.
That I thought was kind of cool because that's definitely a good way to buy yourself into some what's it called, like connections. Like if you're spending that kind of money on a newspaper, right? People are going to listen to you and want to help you out and let you in on the club, right?
Yeah, but it worries me because like I don't see his company. Like what is he advertising?
Oh, yeah. Oh, that's right. Yeah, we don't ever get to find out about. Well, kind
There's
of.
a part later in the series I know he hired a bunch of people to package up a bunch. Like I see him start doing business in Syria. That's going to be
Right.
later in the in the series.
Uh huh.
But I don't see him actually doing any business in Buenos Aires, and that part of that being his cover just, of course, like, hey, we want to get this done in 6 episodes, so okay, I don't want to hang, I don't want to hang around on that topic too long, but just to flag it.
Yeah.
Like I would think to do this operation with this cover, but then of course I get tripped up by the fact, well, this is supposedly based on true events, so maybe they did do it this way. But it seems to me that to run this kind of cover, you'd also have to run an entire textile company with like scores of employees and like some warehouses and stuff.
Right. You would
Yeah,
have to have set up a very successful textile company that you're running. Like, you hear about these types of little businesses that in all the Cold War films, like MI6 running like a tailor shop, or the CIA running like this newspaper, this small independent newspaper, whatever. I'm sure there's like scores of different little businesses that all these intelligence agencies have legitimately ran for this exact reason, right?
sure. And there was the guy in let's see, who was the Russian spy we covered? The guy in Japan, Russian spy in Japan,
Oh, Spy Sorge?
Sergey. Yeah, one of Sergey's compatriots had set up like a very lucrative business as his cover in Japan. Do you remember that? There was
Oh,
actually some concerns about that he was like more focused on making money than on the mission.
yeah, no, I absolutely remember. Sorry, I thought maybe I wanted to let you finish your thought on that, but no, that I thought was a great cover, moving from one country to the other. The fact that that his buddy had a legitimate setup made it all the better. But yeah, you're right. It did get to the point where it was, is he really spying or is he just here to make the money? Which I'm sure is the case. I think that's what I really liked about Spy Sorge is we kind of got to watch the life of a spy so much as we do with like, ooh, let all these twists and turns. You know what I mean? Um, but like you said, we only get 6 episodes in this, and apparently there's a little bit to unpack. I don't know. I feel like the Night Manager did in 5 episodes did a great job of setting up a cover, right?
Oh yeah. But his cover was someone that had been hiding his identity from authorities, not a prominent member of
Textile,
the
yeah.
business community. Yeah.
Right. That's a good point. Very good point.
Right. Well, uh the relationship with the newspaper editor is going to pay off in terms of getting invited to a party at the embassy where he gets to meet General Amin Al Hafiz,
Hmm.
who is a actual historical figure. I believe you know, he did come to be the lead ruler. Ruler, is that what they do? Do you rule Syria?
I but quite possibly some of those countries are still monarchies
Right.
and dictatorships and stuff. So it's very possible that he became
And
the ruler.
and if I'm not mistaken, I think that guy is actually possibly going to come into power in this series.
Well, that'll
Um,
be nice to see.
yeah, how far are you into it?
I didn't want to watch past the second episode specifically for
Okay,
this recording. Um, I did watch the first episode like forever ago when it first dropped, and haven't watched it since deciding to do it for the show. So I wanted to make it fresh for the recording and make sure that I didn't have any notions that I might bleed in as like a spoiler. I kind of like doing these show ones as we go. You know what I mean?
sure. Yeah, in my style, or at least I figure one of us needs to have watched the whole thing. However, I'll always stop before watching the final episode because I don't want to know the entire story.
Yeah.
But I do kind of want to know how it's going. But yeah, so I'm pretty sure this guy who right now he's the Syrian ambassador to Argentina. Buenos Aires is in Argentina, right?
Hmm.
Okay.
Absolutely.
But he's already seen as someone that could be a future leader of Syria, and Ellie definitely uh, again just massively tries to butter this guy up about how big of a fan he is, and that he thinks that someday when the opportunity exists, you're gonna need funders, people like me, and people that are passionate about enough, that share your passion about Syria enough to open their wallets and help you get done what we all need to get done as loyal Syrians. Rah rah.
Yeah. um, I kind of didn't look. I'm gonna kind of throw out a spoiler there for this episode that I am not really that big of a fan of the show. Um, and one of the reasons I kind of want to point out here, I think I'll go on a little rant towards the end. But I don't believe the seduction. Like he's like overly trying so hard and it's like so obvious and I feel like an ambassador, especially like a Middle Eastern one that's used to like culturally where it's there's a lot of um, emotional words that are thrown around. I would like to think an ambassador for any country has had the experience of someone trying to feed their ego to where they're not going to fall for it. And a lot of Ellie's, I guess, flattery is so on the nose. You know, he might as well have worn the sign like, "Hey, I'm trying to flatter you." You know what I mean? Like it wasn't subtle. It wasn't. It wasn't. You know, smooth. It wasn't like, they just like you got like a couple shot of them at a party, and then all of a sudden they're BFFs. You know what I mean? Like after the party, on top of all this like other stuff happening. So I wanted to, I don't know, hit some. I mean, I guess Ellie's new, but still, like it's so obvious. It just bothers me. I'm sorry, but you brought up how was charming him with the like, someone as important as you and blah blah blah, and yada. It. I don't know. It didn't sell me. Especially, like even if he could convince the ambassador, there's no way Dr. Bashir should have fallen for it. Which it looks like Bashir is very suspicious of him already, but it should have been overwhelmingly obvious with how on the nose the flattery was.
I agree with you, especially at the end of the episode, but I can't really go into my supportive details
Uh huh.
without going through the rest of the episode first
Okay.
on that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, the they are, I mean, they are on the lookout for spies, and they've got a really good test question, which is where are your parents buried.
Right.
I like this one a lot. Um, this is better than mother's maiden name.
Uh huh.
That's something, mother's maiden name is something they use a lot, uh, or at least they used to. Maybe not so much post internet,
Uh huh.
but mother's maiden name used to be something that was often used as a part of the process of like replacing an ID or a social
Hmm.
security card.
Hmm.
And I always thought like, that's actually a really good question because it's something everyone knows the answer to, but probably 99% of their friends don't.
Yeah.
Right? It's
Yeah.
kind of perfect.
It would have been just
Um,
within the family.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Um, and where are your parents buried? That's a damn good one. Because if you don't know that, you're a fucking spy and your whole story is bullshit.
Right.
But it's also something that, you'd have to be pretty fucking experienced at doing this kind of shit to think that deeply into filling in your agent on his backstory, you know, to know the exact plot that
Absolutely.
it's at, because you can't just say what cemetery it is. Like you have to know, this is a place presumably, if you're I don't know if there's anything particular about Muslims about honoring their dead parents, but you know I guess I'm assuming that it's something that you would think like a good Muslim would be visiting his parents' grave like at least once a year or something.
Right.
um so yeah, that was good. And they checked that right away. They don't even wait until tomorrow.
Hmm.
They send a guy out immediately. Um, so he's going to have passed that test. And his job was just to make these contacts. That's all he's really supposed to do. This is really, I mean, this is really even. I guess a primary objective is to get a letter of recommendation to get him into Syria,
Hmm.
which apparently is part of that process. So that's job number one. Making powerful friends along the way, that's definitely like good as well. Um, but he's gonna see and grab on an opportunity that wasn't part of his mission plan. Do you want to tell us about that?
Yeah, he spotted a photographer at like this big, what is it, like a gala, like a ball, some sort of, I don't know. What do diplomats do for funsies where they're trying to network and rub elbows? Like one of those type of things. And I guess it was at the embassy.
At the embassy.
Yeah, it was at the embassy. He notices a photographer, and the photographer puts his camera down, and he just swipes the camera, um, which was a little risky. And I think this is something that Beeman brings up, and the handler brings up as well. Like, this is not what you were asked to do. This is very risky. I highly agree with that. But considering how new he is to the trade, I guess it fits the bill that he would like try and overextend and grab the, like, oh, I see an opportunity, I'm going to take it. you know he doesn't have like the decades of experience.
Why does he need a camera?
Oh, well, in the film of the photographer's taking pictures like everywhere. You now have specific individuals, especially since during the training montage they were showing them pictures of, I guess, high profile targets or people of interest. Let's just call it people of interest. He
Oh
was
yeah.
like going through slideshows and memorizing these like persons of interest. And many of those persons of interest were at the gala, and getting the film, placing certain people in proximity together is like a really big deal. Um, where you could say, well, these people met. Well, what are they meeting about? Like, and this kind of helps you piece together the network, if that's what you're trying to, like, I guess, sketch out, is like who's connected. Like you see in those kind of like mafia movies where the detectives got like, this guy knows this guy and that guy knows.
Oh yeah,
I,
totally.
I would totally think like those photographs are probably worth their weight in gold.
Yeah,
Or
once he develops the photographs, he's writing down people's names on the back of them before he goes to hand them off to his operations person. Oh, let's see. I had her name. Anyways, his Maya, or no,
yeah,
not no Maya, not Maya, not Maya. Um, anyways, this lady that's his.
she's definitely her handler.
Okay,
She's
okay,
kind of running the op, yeah.
right. But I thought like the initial impetus of grabbing the camera was so he could climb up into ambassador's office and photograph some documents that he'd seen. Uh,
Oh, I thought he was just grabbing them or taking. Did he have the camera? I thought he got the camera after that.
See, now I don't remember, but I
But
guess I guess we'll have to skip it. But he does climb. Not only swiping the camera, that's a certain level of risk, but he also
yeah,
climbed up the side of the building.
I screamed parkour hardcore when he did that, from The Office, if you've ever seen that. But that was super risky. He's just gotten his face in. Nobody really his only mission was to get into Syria and get a letter of recommendation. He really was trying to be James Bond here, and the risk actually led him into a very dangerous position. But um, I just really want to point out how much of a desperado he's trying to be. Not only is he like going like parkour hardcore into the guy's office to get documents without being told this, and he's like stealing someone's camera. It's pretty reckless, if you ask me, because all he needs is the letter of recommendation to go to Syria. That's all he needs. That's his only mission. It's just kind of sus, and I think the only way they would have held on to him is the fact that they need someone in Syria fast, and he's kind of the guy they just spent 6 months training. I think any other agency or any other circumstance, they would have been like, "Get the fuck out of here! You need to follow rules." I don't understand why you would do that. You literally put like a lot of people's lives at risk by doing that. But it looked pretty cool, I guess.
All right. Um, well, even worse than that to me, because she's supposed to be the more experienced partner. Um, my big like, what the fuck is when he hands her the envelope and she starts pulling out the pictures. I mean, yeah, they're at a restaurant that it doesn't look like there's anyone around, but come on,
Yeah.
she's pulling out the pictures and discussing them with him, like right there. That was pretty iffy, and that's how this one guy who'd gotten suspicious of Ellie and had followed him. He's spotted them, they spot him. Blah blah blah. Foot chase, fight, fight, fight. The guy dies. Um,
Probably the most obvious surveillance ever. They're in the middle of like what, a park or something, and he's just standing out in front of a tree. There's no other people around. He's just standing there staring at them like a peeping tom, you know? Like he wasn't fooling anybody.
yeah, it
Um,
wasn't great.
but one thing I did want to point out, I guess like plus movie points. Um, I really liked that the both of them had to kill him. A lot of spy films are protagonists are like, triple 10th degree black belt masters of every martial art and weapons experts, and it's just one guy taking on 50. But here the handler and the agent had to fight off and kill the guy from the ambassador tailing him. So I kind of, you don't see that in a show very often.
Right. Yeah, this part's really hard for me to buy.
Yeah.
That it went down this way, and the also, what she said about the guy just standing there in the open, that did bug me, and it's bugging me even more now because as I don't think Ellie ever, I'm not sure Ellie ever saw that guy at the party. The guy might think like, he could have just walked by and looked like he was out for us, just passing by the restaurant.
Right.
But yeah, instead of standing under the streetlight like that. Also when he goes to try to escape, he tries to hide, just run for your car, dude. You know
Right.
that Ellie showed up on a train. So if you get to your car, you're free and clear.
Right.
Um, Maybe you should have a gun. I don't know what the rules are on that,
Right.
for
In Buenos Aires, like, or
yeah,
just being an agent.
and
Yeah.
yeah, ambassadorial staff or whatever that yeah, that could be iffy. You're maybe not supposed to be running around with a firearm. Um, a lot of movies and TV shows would just like cheerfully ignore that kind of thing.
Right.
Um, but it's true the guy didn't tell anyone he was following Ellie. And we didn't, or no, we did mention it. This is the 60s. We don't have cell phones. And so the guy didn't have an opportunity to tell anyone who was following Ellie, but Ellie don't know that.
Right.
So when this guy disappears, like, so here, risk, like the idea. Now, of course, he's getting the orders, and she's telling him, here, the plan is for you to lay low, right?
Yeah.
You don't go back to the embassy. And he's like, no, that's the one thing I can't do. I have to walk right back into the embassy pretending like nothing happened. This is the next day.
Yeah.
And that's when he makes, I think, and that's where I want to go circle back and like underline and support your notion of it being so obvious that he's trying to curry favor.
Mhm.
I mean, he's showing up with gifts, and his compliments are just so lavish.
Yeah. Oh
But
my god, the
yeah.
conversation last night was the best I've ever had in my life. You know,
Oh, right. Yeah.
I feel so honored to be in the presence of a hero of Syria. It, it just it was a little much.
Well, I'm gonna spoiler alert, and I'm gonna say that it gets better.
Okay.
Uh, I think especially episode 4, something gets set up that gets paid off in episode 5. It's a massive spin twist in the story that I thoroughly enjoy, and makes me excited to finish off this series with episode 6. But before we sign off, I've got one last note I want to throw in there, and then I'll ping you for anything else you got.
Okay.
We mentioned how fierce Alexander Siddig's portrayal of this security chief is. I
Yeah.
mean, he looks like he's got something up his butt.
Yeah.
and
Constantly.
and that he knows someone in the room is the person who put it there.
Right.
This angry little fist of a face, with
Yeah.
these two bulging, glaring eyes as he's looking around at everyone. I think it's really cool to watch. It's fantastic. It's the thing that would have made me, if I didn't know from like Wikipedia or whatever, I think Alexander Siddig would have slipped past me as far as recognizing him.
Oh,
But I want to say this. I want to give a note to Mister Bashir, security chief for the ambassador's security. If you could just relax a little bit and calm down, then maybe people would relax around you.
right.
And that's what you want, right?
Yeah, right.
You don't want to broadcast I am watching all of you for any slip up.
Yeah,
Fucking smile and have a drink and tell a stupid joke and laugh
yeah,
and watch them laugh as well
right.
and put them at ease around you. That's my note for him.
And maybe even look sloppy. Oh, we could trick this guy. But if you're like, yeah, no, that's a good point. If you're running around like just putting your eyeballs on everybody, obviously, like people are gonna be on the guard, and now you can't find the weasels in the chicken coop or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
That's a very good point. But it was still fun watching Dr. Bashir run around with a stick up his butt.
He's super fun. He's super fun to watch. Yeah,
Yeah.
love it.
Um, but yeah. If you don't have anything else, I kind of want to give a mini review. I haven't finished the show, but this is I forgot why I didn't like the show, and then going back and watching these two episodes reminded me very quickly. Who's the director? What was it? Crap, what's his name? It's like uh Gideon Raff, I guess
Yes.
is the director. Um, I don't know what else he's done, and I don't want to just shit on somebody because he's made movies and I haven't. I'm just some jack off on a podcast, right? Like so power to him for getting like a project done and stuff. But there's something that always irks me about content that I watch when they insult the audience, and like Todd and I have watched a lot of spy films, and I don't care like how broad or narrow of an audience the spy film goes. They don't hand everything to you, and there's always something subtle going on, or at least a little bit of subtleness, so that like no matter what level of spy content you've consumed, you can enjoy something. Um, I just feel like the dialogue in this and the writing feels like a soap opera, and like everything is just or like network. Well, like the cinematography doesn't feel like network television, but it's just everything is so spelled out, and the people talk like kind of aliens. Like there's really no natural dialogue, and I thought this was going to be like an interesting artistic choice because Sacha Baron Cohen has this kind of like goofy, luggy, awkward mannerism about him in this story, and I thought it was going to play really big to like the rest of the show or his character, and it kind of doesn't. I feel like there's a lot of missed opportunities, and it's just there's so much shit on the nose. Like it's really choppy. Like the moment when Beeman's secretary is basically hinting like, "Hey, do you want me to send everybody home and we could fuck?" Like it just came out of nowhere. You know what I mean? And there's a lot of these little moments where shit just comes. Like the accusation of Beeman trying to send Ellie to his death so he could fuck with his wife or some shit. Everything. It seemed like an elementary student kind of putting this story together. I don't know if you felt this way, but I kind of felt a little insulted. So it's really hard for me to engage. But there's so many of these little interesting ideas. They're just kind of like wrapped up in a little bow for like anybody, you know. And I feel like if you're going to go into the spy genre, you should assume that people that like spy stuff is going to watch this, not just like anybody, right? even if it's their first spy film, like there's going to be something they'll pick up on, and then they'll enjoy the mystery of trying to figure out what they just watched. This kind of feels like somebody wrote a spy film for like a bro, that's taken some time out of his getting fucked up and pants dropping schedule to watch a spy film for the first time or something. I don't know. This is just how I felt. I don't know if you felt the same way.
Okay, well, Gideon Raff,
Uh-huh.
who writes and directs this show, is best known for creating the Prisoners of War TV series,
Oh.
which became the American version of which was Homeland, which he also co-developed and wrote at least the pilot for.
Okay.
So just there's that.
Okay.
Uh, and I don't know how you. I don't want to sit down and spend too much time comparing this to Homeland. They're
Right.
completely different animals, really.
Yeah,
Um,
absolutely.
but okay, as far as what you're talking about it feeling a little paint by numbers,
Right. That's a
I
good way to
think
put it.
I think I want to have that deeper discussion in our final summation
Okay.
of this series. But let's set this table up to say that this is going to be okay. Help me out if I'm wrong, but I think this is one of three real life spy stories that we've covered. There's Sorge,
Uh-huh.
there's Cumberbatch in the Courier. There were
Munich.
kind of okay, yes, Munich, but here I'm going to narrow the focus beam a little more. I just want to talk about real life deep cover people.
Oh, yeah, I see
So
what you
that's
mean.
why so that's why I didn't count the guys from Algiers or Munich,
Uh-huh.
but I think it's the Courier, Spy Sorge, and now this one are all kind of well, they're they're actually all very structurally similar
Uh-huh.
too. And so there's a framing device. I think I'm not sure. There wasn't one in the Courier, but there is in this one. There was in Sorge where we kind of know the end at the beginning, like we know that he was eventually captured.
Right.
That's not a spoiler because that's the first scene of this series.
Yeah.
And I wonder. I mean, some of the things that we're seeing, like the forlorn wife, the fact that we know he was captured, the fact that he does get captured, the training montage, like a lot of these elements that we're seeing, I wonder if people just feel like you can't tell a true, true in quotes life story of a deep cover agent unless it has these particular elements, and that we're just saddled with that. But at the end of this series, I definitely think we should set these three spies against each other in how we thought
Oh,
their stories were told.
absolutely. No, I think
Okay.
that's a great plan. I definitely see that plot format in all three of those. And I think those would be great comparisons because those three are very different in style and I guess approach, but still have that same format you're talking. I think
But they're
that's
all, yeah,
a
but
fantastic idea.
mechanically, they're all like really hitting the same beats.
Right. Yeah. Exactly. Yeah, I'd love to do that's. I'm going to keep that in mind going forward for the next episodes to kind of remember, like, okay, well, this was on that one and stuff. Yeah. No, no, that's a great idea. Let's do it.
Fantastic. So I'll meet you back here next week
Yeah.
at ye old park bench
Yes. That's right.
to talk about episodes 3 and 4. And I'm hoping you're gonna get as I'm hoping the end of episode 4 is gonna draw you right back into this one.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I'm excited. I mean, like, I am suspending a little bit of judgment because I've only seen the first two episodes. It's just this is kind of how I felt going in. So hopefully my opinions change, and it sounds like you're saying they might. So that has me a little bit excited.
All right, and then I believe I have decided what our next movie will be after we finish this series. We're gonna do Casablanca.
Oh, nice. Oh, that's right.
which
We were talking about that for a while. Yeah.
yeah, oh yeah, it's I've wanted to do it for a long time. It turned 80 years old this year. I was annoyed to notice that I just met there were theater screenings here in LA. I would love to have seen it in the theater, and I found out about them just 5 days too late. Um, but I've gone ahead and got myself a copy. I'm really looking forward to watching it and talking about it. That'll come after we finish up The Spy. Yeah. You wanna bore the audience with reminding them
yeah.
what they should do if they think that they know which movie we should talk about next? What would they do?
Yeah, definitely go to spieslikeus.net and shoot us an email. You can go to the contact page and just shoot us an email, and Todd or I will get back to you. You can tweet us at spies_like_us or facebook.com/spies_like_us podcast. We're always happy to hear from fans. We've definitely had some on the show. Last week we had Joe Duffus. That was a lot of fun. I'm really glad we did that for Libero. Oh no, it was before last week when we did Libero. So if you have something that you really like, definitely let us know. Or if you hate us or you love us, whatever, tell us. Shoot us a line. We're happy to hear from you.
Right, and of course, the number one best thing you can do for a truly indie podcast like this, the thing that works more wonders than any of the other stuff, like retweeting our episodes or anything like that, tell a friend. If you like the show, tell a friend. If you hate the show, tell an enemy.
That's it. Yeah.
The preceding transmission sampled the song Enter the Party by Kevin MacLeod, and sound effects from freesound.org. Attributions and links are found at spieslikeus.net.